season.
All right, Shannon, thank you. They're fired up. We are as well. Looking forward to Carolina and Duke. This has been the Infinity Tip-Off. Now let's see what happens when coaches hit the racetrack for this year's Infinity Coaches Charity Challenge. Welcome to Saturday Primetime, presented by DirecTV. Ready to go here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. A quick check of the starting lineups. No surprises for either team. Barry, Page, Jackson, Bryce Johnson, who went for 29 and 19 in the first game, and Kennedy Meeks for the Tar Heels. For the Blue Devils, Thornton, Allen averaging better than 21 points per game. Matt Jones back from the ankle injury. Brandon Ingram, who was sensational in the second half of the first game against Carolina. And Marshall Plumlee, his senior night. The end of an 8-year run of Plumlee's here in Durham. Roger Ayers, Tim Nestor, John Gaffney are officials, and we're underway.
And right away, Justin Jackson guarding Brandon Ingram. That puts Bryce Johnson on Matt Jones, the same way North Carolina started the game in Chapel Hill.
Both with a step-back jumper, and the rebound hits the floor before it's corralled by Joel Berry.
You have to imagine North Carolina's going to want to go inside early. Ingram guarding Bryce Johnson.
Page trying to get it into Meeks. Plumlee fronting him. Now Johnson gets inside, tries to bank it home, and the follow is good for Meeks.
Well, this looks awfully familiar. The offensive glass, especially in the first half in Chapel Hill, was a big factor for North Carolina, getting second chance opportunities and easy baskets.
Carolina actually scored 52 points in the paint in the first game, a huge number, and still lost the game.
It really came down to the end of the game, Dan. They didn't get fouled. They didn't give them a chance to get fouled.
Corner three in and out for Thornton, and Johnson, who averages better than 10 boards per game, down with it for Carolina. And there's a block called on Thornton.
Anytime you go after a block shot, and especially a block shot off the ball, you come over from the weak side. That's one of the few times that Marshall Plumlee did not get a clean block out. And he has done a really good job on the glass, both offensively and defensively. One of the top 4 rebounders in the ACC and the top offensive rebounder.
Berry misses the three. Johnson with the offensive rebound and draws the foul. And there's what you talked about. Carolina asserting itself inside, trying to dominate on the glass.
This game is really, Dan, about matchups. That it's going to be awfully difficult for North Carolina on their defensive end to have a big guy that's guarding a perimeter player. And Duke is going to try to exploit that. But that means Duke's going to have a perimeter player on a big guy. And can North Carolina exploit that in the paint and lay some fouls on Duke?
In the first game, we mentioned Bryce Johnson put up huge numbers, but most of that, Jay, was in the first 30 minutes. He didn't get the ball as much down the stretch. He didn't get as many touches. He may not. Roy Williams told us some of the big guys stopped moving in the last 10 minutes of the game, and Carolina became a jump shooting team in the last 10 minutes of that game.
Everybody stopped moving. I thought what North Carolina did was settle, and they settled for jump shots. And the starting guards, Marcus Page and Joel Berry, went 4 of 22 in that game, and only 1 of 9 from 3. And that's just not going to work.
Remarkably, in that game, Carolina took 19 jump shots. They made 1 of them. They made 1 3-pointer. They missed a bunch inside the arc as well. That counts in that 1 for 19.
And the one they made was really early. Joel Berry hit one early, and after that, didn't make another.
Ingram with the shot clock running down, and a rebound for Meeks. Johnson with Plumlee, shovel pass Meeks, and what a start for the Heels.
Boy, what a beautiful cut by Kennedy Meeks. The ball went along the baseline to flatten out the defense, and Kennedy Meeks got to the front of the rim. Bryce Johnson is an underrated passer.
Grayson Allen trying to get inside. Banks it home, and Duke is on the board.
Allen is such a difficult guy to guard because as a catch-and-shoot guard, he is devastating. You take away that catch-and-shoot shot, and all of a sudden he is driving.
Page misses the three. Plumlee the rebound.
Page now 7 of his last 31 from 3.
The crowd catching its breath as Matt Jones passed up a three, tipped away by Meeks, stolen by Barry, and then Jones. It'll be a travel called on Jackson. When the fans heard the whistle, they thought it might be a reach-in foul on Jones, but it's a travel on Justin Jackson.
Well, just a mental mistake by Joel Barry. He should have taken that on his own. There was nothing that Justin Jackson was going to do with the ball with that short of a pass.
It was Kennard in off the bench for Duke as Thornton goes for a breather.
You can see that they're trying to go after Kennedy Meeks to put him into dribble handoffs and ball screen situations.
Kennard launches one as soon as he gets a touch. Too strong on the three.
And Duke really getting back, not really sending anybody the offensive glass.
Carolina can be lethal in transition. Jackson with Allen on him. 12 to shoot, now down to Meeks. Banging with Plumlee. Doesn't get the bounce. Ingram corrals it.
Ingram may be thin, but he is strong.
Jones. And Page with a rebound. Again, no second opportunity for the Blue Devils.
You know, Duke has struggled shooting the ball last few games, and they may be getting a little bit tired. They've had a really brutal stretch down the end of this season with some backloaded games in this league.
Offensive rebound, Johnson.
He walked.
And he traveled. Let's check in with Shannon.
Well, Jay, exactly what you just mentioned, shooting the ball. Jeff Capel, before the game, he told me that was their #1 priority in the first couple minutes. He said, we have got to make shots, especially because we got to keep the crowd in it, but we have to make shots.
Well, they have to make shots, but they have to work really hard to get good ones. And there are going to be some matchup advantages, and they're going to have to do a really good job of taking advantage of it.
Grayson Allen misses the three. Duke cold from the perimeter in the early going. Barry lobs it inside. Johnson surrounded, has it taken away, but a foul is the call to take us to the first media timeout of the night. It is senior night for Marshall Plumlee, his last game here at Cameron.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And in part by Infinity. Luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. And Edward Jones, where attention and sound advice is a big deal.
It is here for Marshall Plumlee, his senior night. Remember last year, he enlisted in the Army, and this summer, after they won the national championship, he went to Fort Knox and spent some time training there. Now, he did tell me that his plan all along has been to try to play in the NBA. And if he can do that, what he'll do is go into the reserves and spend the weekends in the reserves. But talk about a hero. He is one of our elite in the Army.
Shannon, thank you. Of course, both of his big brothers are playing in the NBA right now. Nobody a year ago ever would have said, you know, if Marshall Plumlee has a chance to play in the NBA, as his proud parents look on tonight. Again, 8 years of Plumlee's here in Cameron comes to an end at the end of this season. But he's gone from a 9-minute-a-game guy, Jay, to 30 this year and 35 in conference play, and has become, because of his size and rebounding, shot protecting the rim, he's become one of the most indispensable players.
He has done a great job, averaging almost a double-double in conference play, 9.8 points and 9.9 rebounds, and over 4 of those rebounds are offensive. And for him to have made this kind of improvement, there's no way that Duke would have won 22 games, whatever it is, without Marshall Plumlee playing this role this season.
Duke still cold. They're now 1 of 8 from the field.
When North Carolina went with their scramble, what a block by Brandon Ingram.
Boy, Justin Jackson's a guy with length until you put him beside Brandon Ingram and see how he can run you down.
Well, Brandon Ingram is right up there with Ben Simmons. Now, Ben Simmons of LSU is going to be the #1 pick in the draft, but the second best prospect in America is Brandon Ingram. He's made almost 73s on the season. Can put the ball on the deck. They isolate him like an NBA player, and he is a vastly improved defender. Now, I think North Carolina can really bring some heat on the defensive end, start trapping and. Well, that's a pretty good block out there by Grayson Allen, taking Isaiah Hicks totally out of that play.
Mix in for Meeks out of the last timeout. Kennard, Plumlee, and a foul. No, not a shooting foul. Foul on the floor. Well, one of the reasons, of course, that Plumlee has played so much is because of the injury to Emil Jefferson, the right foot injury suffered back in December. Duke announcing today that Jefferson is officially out for the season, and they will seek a medical red shirt for him to come back next year. Grayson Allen for three. Page flying down the court with the lay-in at the other end for the Tar Heels.
Well, that's vintage North Carolina. After a great catch and shoot opportunity on the out of bounds for Grayson Allen, they get it down right away and get a layup to take away some of the momentum that Duke was trying to build with their first made three. Now, earlier this season in the game in Chapel Hill, North Carolina didn't really trap or press or run and jump against Duke, and I think they should do that more in this ball game. Put more heat on Duke, try to wear them out, because North Carolina's got more bodies.
Yeah, Duke really with 6 players and maybe a 7, depending on how much Jeter plays. Johnson with a block. Plumlee with a putback and one.
Anytime you go after a block shot, it is imperative that the other big get a box out. And Isaiah Hicks got caught up on a screen, and he couldn't get there to block out Marshall Plumlee. He just got pushed underneath, and there's Plumlee on the offensive boards. He averages 4.2 offensive rebounds a game. That leads the Atlantic Coast Conference.
He is coming off a huge game against Wake Forest on Tuesday. 13 points, 17 rebounds.
His second 17-rebound performance of the year. He had another one against Syracuse. And you rebound like that, they call you sir, not just because you're in the Army.
10-7 Carolina, 6 minutes in the rematch. Duke winning the first one, 74-73 in Chapel Hill. Theo Pinson in off the bench. Nate Britt as well for Carolina. Page kept the foot down, finds Meeks. Ingram steals it. Thornton the jumper.
Thornton has really struggled shooting the ball, but he does an excellent job of putting pressure on the basketball defensively.
Britt coming off the screen. Beautiful feed into Meeks.
Boy, just as Duke is trying to put North Carolina's big guys in ball screen situations, North Carolina takes advantage of Plumlee guarding out on the perimeter, and that was a great pass by Nate Britt.
Kennedy Meeks off to a good start. 6 points, 3 rebounds already.
And he's struggled since coming back from that injury. He missed several games, and he's never been the same.
Kennard, the lefty, can't get it to go. Meeks with rebound number 4.
Carolina not getting its primary break, but oftentimes its secondary break can be just as difficult to deal with.
Meeks again, the assist to Britt.
And you really have to play Nate Britt as a driver. Now, he can make an open shot, but he's not a good shooter. I wouldn't classify him as a good shooter. But if you give up a drive and give up baseline, he is such a good passer, and he's strong, and he can finish.
Johnson guarding Ingram. Page guarding Allen. Allen gets open for a 3. And Meeks yet another rebound and a foul by Plumlee, his first.
Well, Nate Britt is a lefty that shoots his jump shots righty and shoots his free throws lefty. And they put Marshall Plumlee in that ball screen situation, took advantage of it, and then giving up baseline instead of forcing Britt into the screen, or to use the screen. And then Kennedy Meeks has done a really good job catching and finishing. When you set a screen, he is rolling to the basket and rolling hard.
Meeks up to 8 points and 5 rebounds. He stays in as Johnson goes to the bench. Plumlee will get a brief breather for Duke. Chase Jeter in off the bench for the first time.
And North Carolina needs to go after Jeter.
Jackson for 3. He has been shooting the ball well recently, including that one. He's now at almost 50%, Jay, over his last 8 games after being down around 20% prior to that.
Yeah, he's 12 of his last 25 from 3 over his last 8 games now. And it's kind of like last year. He didn't shoot the ball well during the course of the year. Last 8 or 10 games really started shooting it better.
Matt Jones with about a 10-foot bank floater.
Now, this is a smaller lineup right now for North Carolina. They're playing 4 perimeter players and 1 post, that post being Kennedy Meeks. So it's a fair fight out on the perimeter.
Good matchup, Jackson and Ingram.
And this is where Carolina's depth can get to you, because their primary big guy is getting a rest.
The finish for Jackson, and he's fouled as well.
How good is that floater? His floater as good as any player in the country.
Biggest lead of the night for Carolina. They are up by 10. When do we come back? More Duke and Carolina and some Joey brackets for you as well.
From the bunker.
Carolina leading by 10 right now. Time now to go to Joe Lunardi in the Infinity Bracket bunker. He was doing a game in Philly today, but he got back into the bunker in a hurry. Joe, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about these two programs. Right now you've got Carolina as a 1, Duke as a 4. Do you see that changing for either team based on what happens in the next week or so? All right, let's go from number 1 seeds down to bubble teams, and there was a little movement based on a game today, right? All right, last question. Let me bring you back to ACC country. Syracuse lost to Florida State. You had them as a 9 at the beginning of the day. If Syracuse were to lose its first game in the ACC tournament, are they still in? Is the Orange safely in the tournament? All right, Joe, thank you. Have fun in the bunker. Joe Lunardi joining us from the bunker. A steal by Page ahead to Jackson, who slams it in with 2 hands. He's got 8, and Carolina's doubling up Duke right now, Jay.
Boy, and what a steal by Marcus Page. The last couple of possessions that Duke has been on defense, they've been in a 2-3 zone, and North Carolina's had a couple opportunities. But Duke is starting to show some life on the offensive end. They've got to start rebounding because North Carolina's dominated the glass.
Well, one item of business that we haven't been able to get to, the foul that was just before the last timeout was on Brandon Ingram, his second. That's why Jeter and Plumlee are in there together. Ingram on the bench with 2 fouls, Jay, for a team that has very little depth, and that's one of their most important guys.
And really it's about keeping it close in this first half so they don't have to have Ingram pick up a third before halftime. I don't know that Mike Krzyzewski's never been one of those coaches that once you get 2 fouls, he's going to keep you out for the rest of the half. But I don't think right now he can afford to have Ingram out there to pick up a third.
Allen asking for the ball screen. 3 to shoot. He drives left hand. Got it. Barry with a floater short, followed by Johnson.
Well, it is so hard when Bryce Johnson is on the move to get a body on him. He's got quickness. He gets off the 4 quickly. And North Carolina is getting almost whatever they want on the glass. And right now the challenge is staying in front of Grayson Allen because he is one heck of a driver.
Kennard, his second 3 in a row. Remember, he had a big game against Carolina back in Chapel Hill. Came off the bench, knocked down 3 threes, and scored 15 points.
And that was a question mark for Mike Krzyzewski coming into this game. How is Kennard going to play? Just a freshman. He's had 30-point games. Now a steal after those 2 threes.
Kennard again. Jeter battling for the rebound, but it comes free to Meeks.
Overall, Duke's done a pretty good job in transition because North Carolina, an excellent transition team.
Johnson in the middle of the zone. And a foul is called. Nice feed into Jackson to take us to the timeout. Sorry, goaltending to call. They will count the basket, I believe. We'll check on our way back. Duke trying to get back into it after trailing by double figures. They get a lay-in from Grayson Allen, and then they get 2 threes from Luke Kennard. And it's a 5-point game here at Cameron. Kobe Bryant will take on the Golden State Warriors for the last time in his illustrious career. Steph Curry and the Warriors against the Lakers. Coverage begins with NBA Countdown presented by Straight Talk Wireless at 3. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Justin Jackson at the line. It was a foul on Jeter. 2 free throws coming for Jackson. There's David Robinson. The Admiral is here. His son Justin is a freshman redshirting for Duke. And Tyler Hansbrough representing the Heels here at Cameron.
Tyler Hansbrough was 4 times first team All-ACC.
Danny Ferry, terrific, tremendous player, better than terrific, tremendous player at Duke. And you're liking the hats nearby from Kenny Dennard and Gene Banks down there, huh?
Yeah, they've got these blue Mad Hatter hats on, and I'm sure it's a proud moment for the 1978 team.
So Ingram remains on the bench with 2 fouls. Allen baseline. Matt Jones corner 3.
Boy, how nice is that? Baseline drive, baseline drift, looking to the opposite baseline, and Matt Jones, another excellent 3-point shooter.
Isaiah Hicks with a strong move right down the gut of the defense.
Well, Isaiah Hicks against the Syracuse zone, when he got the ball into the middle, he's able to make that shot, but he's also a good passer along the baseline, and that was an aggressive move. What an athletic big guy he is.
Carolina knows they've already clinched at least a share of the regular season championship because Miami lost and lost handily to Virginia Tech. If they win this game, they win the regular season title outright. But even if they lose, they are the #1 seed going into the ACC tournament. Hicks couldn't handle the bounce pass. Duke, meanwhile, they're in the 4 spot right now. They could move up to 3. They could drop down to 5 based on the result here and the Louisville-Virginia game, which is coming up right after us here on ESPN. Let's go down to Shannon.
You know, it's funny because Roy Williams has said so many times that he wants to beat Duke so bad he can taste it. But just this week, he said, you know, if we win this game, I'm not going to be screaming, we beat Duke in the locker room. It's going to be all about the championship, the ACC title. These guys certainly know it's on the line.
And on the other side, Mike Krzyzewski told us it's not at all about seeding or ranking or anything like that. It's about the moment. It's about winning the moment and how, if you can win a moment, it can help you win later moments in the NCAA tournament.
Well, there's nothing you can do about seeding or all that stuff. You've got to win games. And in order to win games, you got to do the things that cause you to win and eliminate the things that cause you to lose. I Duke with a little 2-2-1 3/4 court pressure. Carolina's got to get more efficient, and that's one way to get the ball inside, catch it, and finish, because you know, North Carolina's only up 5 in this ball game, and it seems like they've been dominating again, and yet Duke's within a couple possessions.
And back to the point that Shannon made about what Roy Williams told us before the game, worth repeating. The seniors, Bryce Johnson, Marcus Page, Joel James, have never won an ACC regular season championship as Thornton knocks down a 3. They've won at least a share of one this year, and they've never won in this building. You played in this rivalry. You know how much it means to win one on the other guy's home court.
There's no question. Winning one anywhere is meaningful. But right now with Brandon Ingram on the bench with 2 fouls. Duke within 1 bucket.
Page, short. Duke ball with a chance to tie or take the lead.
With numbers.
Well, not only are they hanging around, they've gotten closer since Ingram went to the bench with 2 fouls.
And with this lineup, that takes Bryce Johnson away from the basket. But Johnson's got a guard out on the perimeter. He's guarding Matt Jones. That takes him away from rebounding. It takes his shot blocker, rim protector out of the paint.
Ingram on the bench with 2. Kennard just picked up his first. That's the 7th on the team. So into the bonus now for the Tar Heels.
And North Carolina needs to keep attacking in the paint. They need to keep driving the ball, getting it inside, putting Duke in a position to foul. Not just to foul, but in a position to foul. Because Mike Krzyzewski's stolen a good number of minutes to keep this a 1-possession game, and with Brandon Ingram on the bench with 2 fouls.
After us tonight, Louisville, Virginia, and after Louisville, Virginia, Sports Center at night with John Buccigross and Steve Levy. Highlights from college hoops, the NBA, the NHL, the latest from spring training and more. Sports Center at night on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Well, Joel Berry coming out of the game, Nate Britt coming in, and Berry has had a terrific sophomore season. He's coming off a 21-point game at Virginia in that loss where he made 5 threes. And he's handled the point all season long and handled it well.
Allen off the back of the iron. Rebound bounces to Page. Kicks again in the middle of the zone. Had it knocked away.
And all he needed to do was catch, face the defense, and look down to Bryce Johnson before he made his move.
And Britt called for the foul, trying to get around the Plumlee screen. Second on Nate Britt. Just the 5th on the team.
Duke's ability to spread the floor, because they've got so many shooters, even though they haven't shot the ball particularly well in this one, it is such a threat. Now you've got guys that are normally guarding inside. They're out on the perimeter.
That's why Roy Williams perhaps just sent Hicks to the bench and brought Pinson in as he matches up smaller.
That means Bryce Johnson can stay on Marshall Plumlee, and he's around the basket. But Plumlee's still going to run out and set ball screens and make Johnson chase.
Jeter for Plumlee. We see this often for Mike Krzyzewski nearing a media timeout, and we're at 4:13 now. Plumlee will sit to get maybe a 4 or 5 minute rest, but probably missing only a minute or so of game time.
North Carolina needs to attack the paint, whether they pass it into the middle where it says ACC or drive it. Chase Jeter, a freshman, is in the middle.
Page for 3. Knocks it down, and the lead grows to 7.
Boy, what a nice skip pass to a wide open Marcus Page. And Page has really struggled shooting the ball, but he is still a very, very capable scorer. But how about that senior speech that Marcus Page gave the other night at the Smith Center?
Yeah.
Just an amazing thing. Both he and George Niang, they're a bunch of seniors across the country, but it's so moving, those 2 guys in particular.
How about the day that Denzel Valentine had on his senior day for Michigan State? I think he had 27 points and 13 assists in a win over Ohio State.
Yeah, but he only had 4 rebounds.
kind of different. The year of the senior to a certain extent this year. All kinds of Wooden Award candidates are seniors, including Bryce Johnson here. Bryce Johnson right there.
Well, he dunked that on the way up. He has got some springs. And what a fabulous shooting touch that Bryce Johnson has got. Talk about a senior that's had a fabulous year. Bryce Johnson's one of them.
Definite candidate for ACC Player of the Year. 8 points, 8 rebounds tonight.
Yeah, I think it's between he and Virginia's Malcolm Brogdon.
Kennard driving on Pinson.
Got to catch that.
And Johnson comes up with a loose ball for North Carolina. Duke had it down to 2. Now it's 9, and Carolina with the ball.
Duke hadn't been able to get that media timeout they were looking for to give Marshall Plumlee that rest. It's gone much further than the 4-minute mark.
Page wide open again on the wing. Out of bounds to Duke, and now the timeout. 2:14 to go in the first half. As Jay said, Bryce Johnson has some springs. Lob it up high. He'll go get it. Carolina by 9.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2016 John R. Wooden Award Men's Player of the Year. And Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive.
The 9-minute.
All right, Adnan, thank you. Joey Brackett says Oregon is the next in line for a 2 seed should somebody stumble. Miami lost handily to Virginia Tech, but of course a lot will be decided during championship week. We'll be in Washington for the ACC tournament. Also, Jay, we're going to have the pleasure of being in Albany. Nice drive by Kennard. We're going to Albany for the MAC, the 2A, the MAAC championship, and a chance it could be Iona and Monmouth, 2 very good teams and 2 teams who don't like each other one bit.
We'll get a chance maybe to see A.J. English, and yet another offensive rebound for North Carolina. Carolina has dominated the glass, but Duke is able to get to the bucket off the dribble. You've seen some isolations. Kennard off of a handoff. Here's another handoff with Allen and a shoot behind.
And he'll bury the 3. Rebounds are 28-9 for North Carolina. And North Carolina's got more offensive rebounds than Duke has defensive rebounds.
Well, North Carolina's got to get some more stops.
And Duke's perimeter shooting keep them in it. Again, they've gone many minutes without Brandon Ingram. He played 9 minutes in this half, picked up a second foul, has not played since. Mike Krzyzewski just trying to have his team keep it close until halftime without risking Ingram picking up the 3rd.
Last minute. Can North Carolina stretch this out to an 8-10 point lead? And can Duke get closer? Get a stop, a score? This 2-3 zone, Duke has stayed in it. North Carolina's not gotten the shot they wanted enough.
Shot clock running down. Johnson from the free throw line. Tipped back up and in by Pinson. Another offensive rebound.
But Duke plays 29 seconds of pretty good defense and then gives up a tip in to Theo Pinson because they can't get a block out.
We'll step aside briefly during this Duke timeout. Carolina dominating on the glass, leading by 8. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Shannon Spake, the Game Day Gang, all here at Cameron. The 242nd meeting. Carolina leads all time, 133-108. Reese Davis, Jay Williams, Seth Greenberg, the Jeep halftime report. What fallout will come from the Miami loss in the ACC, and more tickets getting punched today.
Got to look for Allen and Kennard here, but especially Allen. You clear out against Marcus Page. Those two have combined, Allen and Kennard, for 22 points in this first half. Got the switch.
Allen thought about it. Now driving on Johnson. 2 seconds. Fadeaway jumper. No. And Carolina will take an 8-point lead to the half here in Durham. Brandon Ingram playing only 9 minutes because of the foul trouble. Carolina dominating, crushing Duke on the glass, and scoring a ton of points in the paint, as they did in the first game. They lost that one, had a 4-point lead at the half in that one. They've got an 8-point lead at the half in this one. Carolina 40, Duke 32. After these messages, Reese Davis, Seth Greenberg, Jay Williams, and the Jeep halftime report. Welcome back to Saturday Prime Time, presented by DirecTV.
Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while.
Bryce Johnson nearly a double-double in the first half. 10 points, 9 rebounds. Carolina leading by 8 as we welcome you back to Cameron Indoor Stadium along with Jay Billis. I'm Dan Schulman. Considering how Carolina dominated on the glass, how should Duke feel about being down 8 points?
They should feel actually pretty good because Brandon Ingram only played 9 minutes in that first half, did not score a single point. To only be down 8 is actually not so bad. I mean, North Carolina dominated the glass. They out-rebounded Duke by 20. They had 10 second chance points, but Carolina's got to be better with the ball. They turned the ball over 7 times in that first half, and that's just too many, especially if you're coughing the ball up against a zone, which Duke played for a number of minutes in that first half to try to cover up with Ingram out of the game.
Let's check in with Shannon Spake.
We were annihilated on the glass. That is what associate coach Jeff Capel told me walking into the locker room. He also said we have to make shots, but they did make 3-point shots. They made 6 of them, and that was Roy Williams' main focus. He said we cannot allow that to happen. We have to put more pressure on the perimeter.
A spinning Bryce Johnson misses the jumper, and it's out of bounds to Carolina with a fresh 30. Ingram is the only player on the floor with 2 fouls. As Jay mentioned, 9 minutes, didn't score in the first half. He was a huge part of the Duke comeback in the second half of the game in Chapel Hill.
Which means North Carolina at every opportunity should go after Ingram. He is now guarding Kennedy Meeks. Go inside and make him guard.
Meeks was good in the first half, 8 points and 7 rebounds. Justin Jackson off a screen. Ball is loose and it's out of bounds to Carolina again.
Well, that was a nice curl of the screen by Justin Jackson. Just short-armed that little floater, which he's usually excellent at.
One point I wanted to make on seeding for the ACC tournament. I obviously flunked tiebreaker 101 back in college. I said that the Miami loss assures Carolina of the 1 seed. That is not true. If Carolina loses and Virginia beats Louisville tonight, there's the 3rd on Ingram. Then Virginia would be the 1 seed. By tiebreakers, Carolina would be the 2. More importantly, in this game, Jay, as you talked about, they went at Ingram in less than a minute into the half. He picked up his 3rd.
And there's no question Ingram's arm was right on the elbow of Bryce Johnson as he was shooting that ball. Just not a smart play by the freshman. You want to put some pressure on that shot, but you don't want to bring that arm down. That was just a dumb foul.
And Mike Krzyzewski will leave him in the game. Really doesn't have much of a choice.
Well, especially you take him out and then he can't establish any rhythm at all. At some point you have to take a risk, and I think the risk is being taken right now. And North Carolina's got to continue to go at him. Now with 3 fouls, he can't afford to pick up another one.
A dozen for Johnson, and the lead is 10.
Well, you sit Brandon Ingram all that time, and then right out of the gate he picks up number 3.
Ingram now banging with Justin Jackson at the other end. In and out. Plumlee with a rebound. And a foul on Meeks.
But Plumlee is just stronger than Kennedy Meeks. He just pushed him right underneath. Plumlee is over 7 feet tall and just massive. And he plays so hard. Never really gives up on an offensive board. He just pushed Meeks right underneath and was able to come up with that. You know, we mentioned he averages over 4 offensive rebounds a game. That is a ton of second chance opportunities.
And it wasn't just Mike Krzyzewski who had nice things to say about Plumlee before the game. Roy Williams did as well. Very complimentary to the job that Plumlee has done. Again, playing behind Jahlil Okafor last year. He got 9 minutes a game, and I don't know how many people envision him having this big of a role. Let's see, airball's the free throw. Having this big of a role on this team this year, but out of necessity, especially after the injury to Emil Jefferson, they've needed him in there.
Well, you knew he was going to have a big role. I mean, even with Emil Jefferson in there, Plumlee was a starter, and he's going to be playing a ton of minutes. Now, Duke's sticking with that 2-3 zone now that Ingram has picked up that 3rd foul. They've got to protect him. And North Carolina, not a good perimeter shooting team. That means they have to take care of the paint. Nobody picked up Ingram.
Kennard wide open and misses the 3.
And North Carolina was lucky there because they gave up a wide open 3 in transition with nobody on Kennard or Ingram.
Page 5 points tonight, still struggling to shoot the ball. To the elbow to Meeks, and he thought about going up for the shot, then dumped it off to Johnson, but Johnson had turned his back and was thinking about a rebound.
You never leave the floor to pass. You leave the floor to shoot, and then if you pass it, that's fine.
And there's a foul on Bryce Johnson, his first.
Anytime you catch the ball in the middle of the defense, you've got to catch and face the defense. But he goes up and all of a sudden looks away from the basket. He had a wide open shot. I don't know why he'd want to pass it. That's yet another turnover for North Carolina, doubling up Duke.
And Meeks to the bench. Hicks in. Wide open Ingram. All right, another break for Carolina. Duke has had 2 wide open threes the last 2 times down the court.
And that's just a rhythm thing for Ingram. You know, he hasn't been able to establish any rhythm in this game because of his foul trouble. And especially for a freshman, when you've spent that much time out of the game and then come back in the second half, it's hard to fight your way through that and establish some rhythm.
Ingram into the body of Jackson, absorbs the contact and finishes.
Oh, what an aggressive move. Showed some strength. He had 20 points and 10 rebounds in the first matchup in Chapel Hill. That's his first bucket in this one.
Hicks from the elbow. Plumlee the rebound. Duke with a chance to make a little run if they can get a score here.
And this zone has bothered North Carolina. They've not gotten the shot they want.
Jones.
Now, Dan, you have to wonder about Duke's legs. They had that 4-game stretch against ranked teams. Then they went to Pittsburgh and got blitzed. Had a game against Wake Forest. And they look a little bit tired. Carolina needs to take advantage of it.
Yeah, Mike Krzyzewski told us they're prepared mentally and emotionally for this game, but they backed off a little physically because they're so thin and it's late in the season. And there's Grayson Allen protesting a call. He gets called for undercutting Bryce Johnson on that rebound.
Well, Johnson going on the baseline, going up for that rebound. That just looked like normal contact. Well, maybe a little bit of an undercut there. But that just looked like a hard rebound. He wound up getting the rebound anyway. Well, Bryce Johnson yet another double-double. He's really had a phenomenal season.
Had a huge game against Florida State, 39 points, 23 rebounds. This is his 19th double-double of the season. Hicks bodied up and defended by Plumlee, who comes down with a rebound to boot.
Carolina's big guys have to be stronger. You know, they're getting some opportunities. Hicks needed to finish that play.
Kennard the kick to Jones. Ingram from the corner. And Duke cold from the outside again. They're now 6 for 19 in this game, 0 for 4 in the second half. Page. And it's Duke ball. Carolina yet to make a field goal here in the first 4 minutes of the second half. And Duke's only made 1. Man.
Well, Duke's had some wide open three-point opportunities.
Floater by Ingram. He draws the foul and will be at the free throw line when we come back. Duke trying to fight back into it. Carolina on the road leading by 8.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the Lincoln Motor Company and the 2016 Lincoln Navigator. More room for the things that matter. And Sonic Creamery Shakes. Shakes fit for a shake aficionado.
Is in reality often has been that Duke and Carolina have dominated this conference. Look at the last 4 years. Regular season champs Carolina. Florida State wins the tournament. Miami sweeps both in 2013. Virginia sweeps both in 2014. Last year, Virginia, the regular season champs. Notre Dame wins the tournament championship. So no titles for Duke and Carolina in the last 4 tournaments or in the last 3 regular seasons. Now Carolina, as we mentioned, has clinched at least a share of the regular season title. Remains to be seen who will win the ACC tournament in Washington, but it's been a little bit more wide open in this conference than maybe people realize. Now to Shannon.
Well, Dan, no one was safe from Roy Williams' message in that last timeout. 0 of 9 from the field, and that was the direct message. He pointed at every single one of the guys and he said, you got to make shots. You have to finish the play.
Their inability to make shots has allowed Duke to get back within 6.
Well, it's really finishing plays because they've had opportunities like this one, and that's where you have to finish. Finish, score, get fouled, or both. It's one thing to miss open jump shots. That's going to happen. But it's another thing when you have opportunities near the basket. Those have to be finished. And North Carolina has been very good at that through most of this game, especially in the first half. In the paint, they were 13 of 22 in the first half. Second half, not so much.
Johnson has it knocked away. Allen comes up with a steal. Ingram the extra look to Jones. Plumlee the offensive rebound, and he is fouled.
But Plumlee just outworking people on the offensive glass. And Duke again getting, I think it was Jeff Capel told Shannon Spake, annihilated on the glass. And now are within 2 possessions in this game, because North Carolina has been unable to score on its offensive end.
Plumlee's 0 for 4 now, though, from the free throw line. Tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time, Steph Curry and the Warriors, Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, ABC, 3:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins with NBA Countdown presented by Straight Talk Wireless at 3. And it's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. The foul on Johnson, his second. He goes to the bench, so Meeks and Hicks are in there. Hicks playing with 3. Plumlee makes 1 of 2, and it's a 5-point game.
Let me ask you a question, Dan. What are all of us old men talking about with Steph Curry that he would have had a hard time years ago? Are those guys kidding?
He's the greatest show in the league, and I don't understand anything negative that gets said about him. I'm with you.
Like everything in America gets better over time except basketball players. It's ridiculous. The guy's an amazing player.
He's phenomenal. Kennard misses the 3. That would have made it a 2-point game.
Yeah, North Carolina's been dodging bullets in the second half. They've been very fortunate that Duke's not been able to catch up, because Carolina's offense has missed opportunity after opportunity. This zone, they have not gotten what they've wanted offensively.
Barry with a 3, and just like that, it's back to 8. Well, much improved player from last year.
Much improved. The one thing that North Carolina's done better in this game, they've already made like 3 or 4 times the jump shots they did in the last ball game, where they made, what, 1 of 19?
Yep, they made 1 3 and 1 of 19 on jumpers in game 1. Kennard.
Oh, that kid is going to score a lot of points in the ACC before he is done. He had 30 in a game earlier this year against Notre Dame, 26 against NC State.
Boy, Hicks had a jumper inside the free throw line, didn't want it, and dribbled it right into the chest of Plumlee. And it's a turnover as the arrow gives it to Duke.
Luke Kennard is the second all-time leading scorer in Ohio high school basketball history. The lefty, when you let him get his feet set, just an extraordinary shooter. Had 15 points in the game in Chapel Hill, including the go-ahead 3 with a couple minutes to go. And right now, if Duke can get a score here, they turn this into a 1-possession game, and all of a sudden North Carolina's got a heck of a lot of pressure on them.
Allen has it rejected by Page, but Page did not get rid of it before he came down out of bounds.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute.
He just pointed the wrong way. It's Duke's ball.
Yes, John Gaffney correcting himself. It is Duke ball.
But that was a smart play by Marcus Page. He was going to save it and then realize, you know what, if I save this, we might be giving up a bucket. And wound up coming down with the ball in his hands.
Now John Gaffney talking to Tim Nestor, one of the other officials. Sure looks like it should be Duke ball.
It is Duke ball. There's nothing to discuss. He touched the ground with the ball in his hands. Yeah. The call was correct.
Out of bounds, touching the ball. As Jay said, Duke ball, and on we go. Allen, a 3. Somehow, it's a 2-point game. Sounds like we should start saying some of the stuff, Jay, we said in the first game.
Well, North Carolina's got to figure out this zone. They have not attacked it well at all.
Johnson to Meeks. Can't finish, but does on the second attempt.
Well, it's a good pass by Bryce Johnson. Meeks almost let that one go by shot faking first instead of going up right away, but an excellent tip in with the right hand.
Ingram driving on Johnson. Johnson stays with him. Kennard drives. Kicks to Ingram. They're heating up from beyond the arc, and they're back within one.
Duke is keeping the floor spread and driving and kicking. And North Carolina's trying to get it closer. That was an excellent pass. The ball moved there and got the defense to expand a little bit, to stretch, and then they got the ball inside. I think North Carolina can attack off the dribble as well, attack those gaps.
And Meeks, who averages 10, has 12 already tonight. Allen is fouled before the shot.
Duke is doing a really good job of attacking matchups off the dribble. Here's Allen just getting a little bit of space and pulling up. He just kind of made him sink down into that stance and pulled up, and then the nice drive baseline by Kennard to kick it out to a wide open Brandon Ingram. And now Duke's established a little bit of a shooting rhythm. That drive and kick, and 9 made threes for Duke. That's the difference getting him back into this ball game.
Ingram in some traffic, gets out of it. A 3 would tie it.
What a pass.
And Johnson called for the foul, trying to body up on Plumlee. His third.
But Plumlee's activity and not giving up and surrendering to a blockout has made a huge difference in this game. To pick up a cheap one there for Bryce Johnson, that's a big play.
Duke has never led in this game. They have trailed by double figures. They just tied it. Timeout, North Carolina.
Bryce Johnson picks up his third foul, and immediately Duke goes right at him, putting him in a ball screen situation. And Grayson Allen pulling up right off of it to knock that down and tie this at 49. What a game.
We're watching the ACC on ESPN. With Jay Billis, Shannon Spake, I'm Dan Schulman. It's all tied at 49. Duke has made 4 recent threes, and they have tied the game. Carolina, as you've said, Jay, they are not handling the 2-3 zone very well at all.
Well, they're putting Justin Jackson into the middle. Another really poor pass by Theo Pinson.
Stolen by Allen, knocked away. Pinson ahead to Jackson. Jackson driving on Ingram. Tip is good for Pinson, and Carolina goes back on top.
Boy, what a turnaround. Great steal by Marcus Page to take away really a layup for Duke and turn it into a layup for North Carolina. Justin Jackson guarding Brandon Ingram.
Allen misses the 3, hit the deck looking for a foul, and because he hit the deck looking for a foul, nobody's back, and Marcus Page has a layup. Mike Krzyzewski arguing there should have been a foul.
And North Carolina coming out of that timeout and getting something off their defense, because Duke has been knocking down open threes, but Marcus Page scoring on the other end.
All right, and thank you. Here, 53-49, North Carolina leading Duke. We're 9 minutes into the second half. Duke won the first game, February the 17th, by a single point in Chapel Hill.
Duke needs to keep driving the ball. They've picked up 6 fouls on Carolina in this second half.
Allen drives, and there's a foul. It's on Hicks. It's his 4th, and Allen is going to the free throw line.
And there's the result of driving. You put North Carolina in a position to foul. And one thing that North Carolina's not done in this game that they did in the first game is they switched some defenses up in the first game. They went 1-3-1. they've scrambled a little bit in this one, a couple possessions, but I think they can bring a little bit more heat on Duke and give them some different looks.
If there was contact there, it must have been with the body, because up top you could see everything was clean. But Hicks will go to the bench with his 4th.
Yeah, that didn't look like much there. But that's what, when you drive the ball, you put the other team in a position to foul. And sometimes you're going to get calls like that.
Allen wanted 2. Ingram tips it, but out to Meeks.
And North Carolina has got to quit turning the ball over. They've coughed it up 12 times in this game. That was a near turnover because it was a bad shot.
And then Meeks is fouled. It'll go on Allen. His 3rd.
Whether it's Justin Jackson or whether Bryce Johnson, Isaiah Hicks, who's ever been in there against this zone, anytime Carolina catches it in the middle of the zone, they've just got to turn and be ready to make that shot. If the middle Duke defender comes up, then they can drop it off. But that's the place to attack this zone and then go after the offensive glass.
One of the seniors, Bryce Johnson, sitting on the bench right now for Carolina. Another one, Marcus Page in the game. Joel James has not played tonight. The senior class for North Carolina has not won in this building. 0-3.
Both Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks have double-doubles. And North Carolina only up by a single possession after dominating the paint as they have.
Strong drive by Ingram.
Well, you're going to see Duke continue to do that. They're going to spread the floor and try to take North Carolina off the dribble.
Nice little bounce pass inside. Meeks can't finish. Pins into Jackson. And a foul. It looks like it's on Ingram. It is. And it's number 4 on Brandon Ingram.
Boy, not grabbing a defensive rebound when it was right there for Duke to grab cost Brandon Ingram a foul. So that's 4 with 10 minutes to go in regulation. And that ball was right there to grab, and one of the few times that Marshall Plumlee didn't grab it.
Down to Shannon.
Well, guys, Coach K, so many times we talk about Matt Jones being the leader of this team. He is pointing at his head and looking at Brandon Ingram and saying, use your head, be smart.
Well, in the first game, Jay, you recall well that Marshall Plumlee had to play a lot of minutes with 4 fouls in the second half. Played well. Duke won the game. Tonight it looks like Brandon Ingram will be asked to play some significant minutes with 4 fouls.
Yeah, the only difference, Marshall Plumlee, a 5th-year senior, and Brandon Ingram, just a freshman. And even though he is a very polished freshman that has had a spectacular season, that is a tall order to expect Brandon Ingram to be able to play these kind of minutes down the stretch without picking up his 5th foul.
Jackson had called for the foul, and also looks like right there he got the left forearm of Ingram up in the face and is bleeding, I think, from the bridge of his nose.
I don't know why they're going to look at this. That's as inadvertent as it can get. If this is anything other than incidental contact, that would be shocking. Now, there's a man, Tyler Hansbrough, that suffered from a lot more than incidental contact in that one game with Gerald Henderson. But this one was nothing more than incidental.
The foul is on Jackson, but they're going to look at the forearm or elbow of Ingram up into the face of Jackson to see if it warrants anything.
I can't imagine it would. You know, we've seen some interpretations on flagrant fouls that have been questionable at best. I mean, the referee's talking about this long. I mean, this is Brandon Ingram either staying in the game or not. Because if they judge this anything other than incidental contact, that's it for him.
Well, one official going over and giving this explanation to Roy Williams.
When they don't bring the coaches together, it's incidental.
Yeah.
You know, if there was going to be some kind of flagrant foul, they would have brought the coaches together in the middle.
So Ingram will be at the free throw line. Carolina's already over the limit with 10 minutes left in the game. Ingram, a 69% free throw shooter on the season. All 10 points for Ingram here in the second half. He was big in the second half in Chapel Hill.
Bryce Johnson back into the ball game for North Carolina. You would think that he's going to be the guy that spends most of the time in the middle of that zone. They'll rotate guys, but Johnson's a guy who's got a great touch and can make that little short jumper where it says ACC right below the free throw line. Then Kennedy Meeks can work the baseline. There it is. That area is wide open.
They'll get the shot off and convert easily.
Yeah, they got to keep doing that. Bryce Johnson can dominate the paint from that area, and he is a good passer, but he can go up and make that shot over and over again.
14 and 14 for Johnson.
Now Jones needs to drive. Bryce Johnson guarding Jones with those 3 fouls. They need to drive him.
Jumper Ingram, no. Loose ball. Jones called for the foul.
That's a good call. He was pushing off Joel Berry as he was going after that ball.
15 foul on the Blue Devils this half.
Duke going to stay in that 2-3 zone that has been so successful in this second half of not allowing North Carolina to establish any offensive rhythm at all. And the best offense they've had is getting the ball into the middle to Bryce Johnson.
Pinson for 3. Rebound Meeks. Berry for 3. Rebound Johnson. Page for 3. A 4th opportunity now. Kennard got tripped up, so Jones's pass winds up in the hands of the Heels.
Boy, Duke has been playing defense for a long time, and North Carolina's had point-blank opportunities.
Johnson a miss. Meeks can't follow. Man, the Tar Heels are playing tip drills on the offensive glass, but they have not been able to convert recently.
Yeah, they haven't been able to finish plays. What a steal.
But then off the leg of Berry, out of bounds, back to Duke.
Well, right now, talk about dodging some bullets. We talked about North Carolina dodging some bullets early in this second half. Duke's dodged a few with all of these rebounds that North Carolina's been able to get, but they haven't been able to convert.
Jay, the rebounds are 54 to 21. I don't know that I've ever been at a game I've ever seen that. 54 to 21.
No, it's like a high school game in that regard, but they're not finishing the plays.
Yep.
You can get all these rebounds if you're not converting.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
They've got 24 offensive rebounds. They've gotten 18 second chance points off those 24 rebounds.
Yeah, they had 10 second chance points in the first half. But they should have a lot more given the job that they've done on the glass and Duke being in this 2-3 zone where it's really difficult to get blockouts.
Kennard got it.
Well, that kid is just wired to score, isn't he? He can not only shoot it, he can drive it, and he's an underrated passer.
2-point game.
That middle is open, and North Carolina's just got to have the fortitude to make those shots.
Baseline jumper there for Johnson.
Those little short jump shots are available for the big guys, and the guy that can make it over and over again is Bryce Johnson. And he needs to just, every time he catches it, look to score.
16 points, 18 rebounds for Johnson. Handoff Allen. Page trying to stay with him. Allen leans in. And Meeks down on the other side.
Allen trying to create that contact. Wasn't going to get the call as a result of it.
Page the kick. Berry a good look for a 3. Ingram a rebound. Allen driving. Going right to the rim. Tipped up, no good. Kennard, the extra pass to Ingram. And Jackson had it and then lost it out of bounds. Frantic action in Cameron. Carolina leading by 4.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And in part by Subaru. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. and Fidelity Investments.
Let's take a look at the best of both worlds, brought to you by Cheez-It.
Well, North Carolina has dominated the glass in this ballgame. 56 rebounds for North Carolina, 25 for Duke. But the Tar Heels have been unable to convert as often as they would like, and as a result, just a 2-possession game with a 4-point lead for North Carolina. This has not been what you would call a masterpiece. It has not been artistry. It's been more of an abstract painting. I'll tell you what, you are going to have to gut this one out. This is far from pretty, but the tougher team's going to win this thing.
Ingram has it stolen by Johnson. Carolina shooting just 23% in the second half, 7 for 30.
They've shot an awful lot of jump shots in both halves, where that's where they've got the advantage, right there. You get the ball into that middle, you're going to get whatever you want. Short little jumper, you got right into the chest of Marshall Plumlee, and Bryce Johnson, I think, can score at will there.
And how about 18 and 18 for Bryce Johnson? Allen for 3. Meeks the rebound.
Now, what's kept Duke in this ball game within striking distance, they've hit 10 threes. Over half their field goals are threes. Over half their shots have been from three-point territory.
Duke's been in the zone most of the night. Since they went into it, I don't think they've come out of it at all.
They haven't.
Barry gets a look. Allen the rebound.
Yeah, Duke started in man-to-man in the second half, but once Ingram picked up his third foul, they went to that zone and have stayed in it ever since. That's a foul, yeah.
Bernard fouled by Jackson. Second on Jackson, 9th team foul.
And that puts Duke back at the free throw line. Every time there's a foul, you're giving away free throws. Yeah, that's not it looks like that's an over and back to some people, but you have to be both feet over and the ball. So that was not an over and back. You can have both feet and not the ball. You can have ball in 1 foot, but you have to have both feet and the ball over to establish yourself in the front court.
And at the line, one of the best free throw shooters in the country, Luke Kennard. He may be using the force to knock down his free throws this year. He's at 89% on the season.
Really, the three-point line, the free throw line, is where Duke has won so many of its games this year.
Carolina just unable to get that separation, same as the first game. Johnson in traffic, knocked away by Jones. Barry recovers, 15 to shoot.
Got plenty of time. You can't forget Kennedy Meeks along the baseline. He's hiding behind that zone.
Jackson misses the 3.
I don't know why you'd want to settle for a jump shot.
This is kind of what happened in the last 10 minutes of the first game. Carolina stopped getting the ball inside. Big guys stopped moving as much as they had earlier. A lot of jumpers, and none of them fell for Carolina in that game.
Well, that was a heck of a rebound by Joel Barry. Not content to let the big guys rebound by themselves. Stuck his nose in there and got a big defensive rebound.
Baseline Meeks. Long pass Britt. Shovel pass Barry. Another 3. This one goes, and it's a 7-point game.
Now, Barry has shot the ball pretty well over his last couple games. He had 21, as we mentioned, against Virginia, where he's hit 5 threes in that ball game. Last 2 games, he was 7 of 15 from three-point range coming into this one.
Allen into traffic. Got it. Down to 5.
That's a heck of a drive, because Nate Britt did a pretty darn good job defensively staying in front and making Grayson Allen shoot over. Allen has had just a spectacular year, leading this team in scoring, assists, steals.
Boy, Meeks and Johnson crowding each other to the free throw line. Great bounce pass from Meeks to Jackson.
See, that time Kennedy Meeks caught the ball. He faced the defense. Didn't try to go too fast. Once the middleman came up, Marshall Plumlee, he's able to drop it off and made it look easy. Made the easy play.
Meeks has had a good game tonight.
He has. He started off well and has rebounded really well.
Ball screen Plumlee. Driving Allen. Left hand no. And coming down to get another rebound is Barry. He's going all the way.
Boy, just used some interference by Bryce Johnson to get all the way to the rim.
Barry into double figures. The lead up to 9. And Kennard has to use a timeout. He picked up his dribble and nobody was there to help him.
Well, Kennedy Meeks making a big play in the middle of that zone, catching it, facing the defense, and making a good play. Terrific pass. And then Joe Barry using some interference in the open court, getting all the way to the rim. North Carolina stretching it out.
All right, and thank you. 3:12 to go, and Carolina has stretched it out to a 9-point lead.
Grayson Allen still being guarded by Marcus Page. North Carolina's best perimeter defender, Justin Jackson, on Ingram.
Allen for three. Big shot for Duke. 6-point game.
Boy, they just keep going to that ball screen, putting Bryce Johnson in a ball screen and just getting a little bit of separation. Now a 1-3-1 half-court defense by Duke.
First time we've seen that tonight. Jackson baseline, but a push is called on Jones.
Wow, they called a foul. Jackson dribbled it off of his foot, and they called that on Matt Jones.
Still not the bonus.
I guess he put that arm on him, that arm bar. Good call. Sticking with the 1-3-1. I'm not sure the guys know what they're in. Now they do. Matt Jones on the baseline. The corners are going to be open. Jones is responsible for guarding the corners.
Turnover, Carolina. Johnson is saying it went out of bounds off Kennard, but it's Duke ball.
Carolina just in too big of a rush. When the ball went inside, there's no rush. Boy, this is a gigantic possession in this game right here.
Here comes Plumlee again with a ball screen. Allen will drive it this time. And Johnson down with his 19th rebound of the night.
Boy, what a great defensive exchange. Marcus Page getting over the screen and really doing a great job putting pressure on that shot. Back now to the 2-3 zone, out of the 1-3-1. So now you've got Jackson and Bryce Johnson able to get into the middle and make a play here. I'm surprised North Carolina hasn't been screening this zone more.
Deep three by Barry. Johnson misses it. Oh, as good an opportunity as he'll have around the rim for a guy who doesn't miss often. A minute and a half to go.
And another bullet dodged by Duke.
Ingram, the jumper. In and out, and there's rebound number 21 for Johnson.
And North Carolina has not given up many offensive rebounds, and they have gotten offensive rebound after offensive rebound. They just haven't converted. Boy, Dan, this has not been pretty, but it has been gritty.
Carolina leading 68-62. Let's look ahead to the ACC tournament, which begins Tuesday afternoon in Washington, D.C. If Carolina wins tonight, they will be the #1 seed in the outright ACC regular season champion. Duke is 4 right now. They could go up to 3. They could go down to 5. And the double bye, you would think, for Duke, as thin as they are, to be in the top 4 would be very important to them. But if Duke loses this game, they drop to 5, and Notre Dame moves up to 4.
Boy, what a huge development that would be, to have to play that extra game for a team that's shorthanded as it is.
How about Virginia Tech going 10-8 in the league and earning the 6th seed?
Really remarkable. You know, last year they were just looking to win a game. This league, with all the teams and how different it is, has really it's really morphed into the Big East. But boy, it's amazing how difficult it is to win games in this league.
Page turns it over. Numbers for Duke. Kennard to Allen for the slam.
Boy, Duke wanted a timeout, and nobody saw Mike Krzyzewski calling for it. That's a huge mistake by the officials.
Now, is there enough time for them to play this out, or do they have to foul?
I think they've got time. That's why Mike Krzyzewski wanted the timeout. And that's a huge mistake by the officials. They've got to be able to be in tune with that.
Page for three.
That looked like it was off Ingram, but they're giving it to Duke. They can look at that. They will.
Yeah, you'd have to expect they're going to. Inside 2 minutes they can, and you got to believe they will.
We're 90 feet away, if not more than that. And it looked like it went off Ingram from here, but we are a long way away.
Up in the crow's nest. Obviously, this is a huge call.
That was off Ingram.
Off Ingram, yeah. Now the call on the floor was Duke ball, so they'll have to overturn it, but it sure looks like there's enough to overturn.
Yeah, that's not close. That's Carolina's ball.
There it is right there. Yep.
It's amazing how long this takes, isn't it? And it's clear as day, and I know the officials are doing the best that they can, and they have a different system. But they're checking the replay. They can also be looking at the clock. But it just takes an extraordinarily long time.
Carolina ball is the call. Looks like the clock is fine at 25. So now if Duke does not get an immediate turnover, they have to foul.
You have to foul here, yes. Just to extend the game. With their three-point shooting, 25 seconds can be a long time. And they got the guy they wanted.
Pinson, a 68% free throw shooter.
Now it's just a question of knocking down free throws and salting this thing away.
After tonight's matchup between Louisville and Virginia, Sports Center at 9 with John Buccigross and Steve Levy. Highlights from college hoops, the NBA, the NHL, and the latest from spring training. Sports Center at 9 on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Two big free throws for Theo Pinson.
Now Duke just wants to attack right here. You don't have to go for three. Take it to the basket. You can always kick it out if you need to.
Allen will take the three and make it. Timeout Duke. Man.
Boy, I can't believe North Carolina was not up on Grayson Allen.
He's got 29 points.
If you give up a roll to the basket by the screener there, who cares? It's a two. You have to take away threes here. And Bryce Johnson was not up there. I mean, that's just not acceptable. You've got to get there and take away that three. Well, that is a huge development to turn this into a one-possession game. Now, Duke can go for a steal, foul, put North Carolina on the line. 17.8 seconds is a long time with this three-point line. And it will seem like an eternity right now to North Carolina. But right now, job number one for the Tar Heels is inbound the ball safely.
You can see they've got one timeout remaining. They've also got the arrow.
It's amazing, Dan. I mean, you ask yourself, North Carolina's dominated the paint. They've dominated the glass, and they're in a one-possession game. It's amazing.
It is. I mean, we felt many, many times in the first game in Chapel Hill, they were dominating the game. They never could pull away, and Duke rallied to win it in the closing seconds. This game's been a different kind of game. But for them to be plus 35 on the glass, 63-28, and for this to be a one-possession game is incredible.
I mean, you got to give Duke a lot of credit. I mean, you can't kill them.
Meeks to inbound it. He likes the home run pass every now and again. Don't know if Carolina wants to take that risk, but he can outlet the ball down the court with the best of them.
And North Carolina's still got one timeout left. Duke is out of them.
Into Barry, and he's fouled. Barry is a good free throw shooter. 84% this season.
Boy, not much time went off that clock before the foul. 17.1. So they were able to get talk about an immediate foul.
8th team foul, still 1-1. Plumlee back in.
Really, for North Carolina, you cannot allow a three. But what a season Joel Berry has had. He's run the point all year long for North Carolina. He's leading this team in assists. Averaged just under 13 points a game in conference play. And he has been really steady over the course of the season.
And Page has had some injuries, has not shot the ball as well this season. Berry's been one of the steadiest players they've had. 2 more big free throws. And now Roy Williams will use his last timeout.
Just calling that timeout to set his defense. And I think he's going to want to press up a little bit and make Duke take some time off the clock to get the ball up court.
Again, a win for Carolina. They're the outright ACC regular season champs, and the 1 seed going into the tournament. A loss for Duke would drop them into the 5 seed heading into the ACC tournament. It's been another big night in what's been a very big season, Jay, for Bryce Johnson.
Well, Bryce Johnson, 6 of 15 in the ball game, 18 points, but more importantly, he's got 21 rebounds. And he had 39 points and 23 rebounds earlier this season against Florida State in really one of the great performances for a big guy in North Carolina history. And he's following up a great game that he had against Duke in Chapel Hill in February with 29 points, 19 rebounds, even though he didn't score much down the stretch. And following up with another incredibly productive night on the glass. I mean, for a guy to get, he got 40 rebounds in the last 2 games against this team?
47 points and 40 rebounds in 2 games.
40 rebounds
against Duke. Duke's won 4 in a row in the series. They've won 3 in a row here. So for Marcus Page, a senior, a guy who's never won in this building. Bryce Johnson, the same thing. They're trying to walk out of Cameron with a W for the first time in their careers. They're 17 seconds away.
And to walk out outright ACC champions. And they're going 1-3-1.
Kennard. Got it! And now Page will go to the free throw line.
Unbelievable.
That's the 13th 3 of the game for Duke.
Not sure I get the 1-3-1 because it leaves a shooter in the corner, and you've got to have one guy covering that. Joel Berry had to go from one side of the floor to the other. Usain Bolt couldn't have covered that amount of distance on the baseline. But Duke finds the open shooter, and he knocks it down.
1-1 for Page.
Well, Marcus Page has been a great free throw shooter throughout his career. He struggled shooting the ball this year, and it's even bled into his free throw shooting.
His parents looking on. They're making their free throws down the stretch.
2-possession game. Duke needs to get it to the rim.
Missed it, followed by Plumlee. 2.8 to go. And Page fouled with 1.5 seconds to go. He can salt it away at the line.
A really smart play by Bryce Johnson to inbound that ball quickly. And how fitting that Marcus Page, given all he has been through. You know, he came to North Carolina from Marion, Iowa. The left-hander expected to play his freshman year behind Kendall Marshall. Marshall went into the NBA draft after the 2012 season. And Roy Williams handed Marcus Page the ball and said, "You're my point guard." And he has had an outstanding career. Even though he hadn't shot the ball his best this year, he's had an outstanding career.
That fouled Grayson Allen out of the game. 1 more free throw for Page. Will clinch it for Carolina. They've made 9 in a row at the line down the stretch. Make it 10. And now, barring a silly foul on a crazy 3, Carolina will win, and they will, as Carolina wins in Cameron for the first time in 4 years, and they clinch the outright ACC regular season championship and the #1 seed in the tournament in Washington next week.
Well, it wasn't pretty, but North Carolina toughed it out. and dominated the glass and was able to just hold on against a three-point barrage in the second half by Duke. Well, you can see the emotion with Bryce Johnson.